Well, I'm Doug Payne, and I'd like to welcome you to the Fairhill International CCI 3-star. We're going to be heading out onto cross country. I'm riding a horse called Crown Talisman, who's owned by myself, along with Larry and Amelia Ross. And Tally's an excellent horse. This is actually his first CCI 3-star. But before we get going, I want to thank Arenus, who's our presenting sponsor here. I got to tell you right off the bat, I am not a supplement feeding person. There's plenty of people out there that will give you a long list of different products that your horse should be consuming, and I think ultimately you end up fertilizing the fields. But the great thing with these products by Arenus, there's a lot of research that backs up all of their findings. Our horses are absolutely better off for them. So without further ado, let's head out onto the course. I had a really unique thing set up here, is that I was actually wearing a GPS watch along with a heart monitor. And the GPS watch not only gives you position, but it also gives you speed, elevation, a whole bunch of other different data points. And so just a little bit walk you through what you're going to see here. The top left of the screen, you're going to see a running time. So that's time on the course. Just below it is the speed that we're traveling at that moment. And then just below in the bottom left is a little schematic of the course. The red dot is where we are at the moment, and the path is obviously highlighted from there. And then on the bottom right is actually my heart rate in beats per minute. So to give you a little perspective here, right now we're traveling at 36 kilometers an hour. That's about 590 meters per minute. At a CCI 3-star level or advanced level, it's all 570 meters per minute on average. So we're looking for in the first couple of jumps here, obviously, to instill some confidence and try and get the horses really sort of looking for the flags and looking for the fences. We're also looking hopefully to get up a little bit up on the clock here, so you're not too far behind early on. We're heading right up to the first key complex here. It's a water jump, and it's either 4 or 5 strides jumping in, a nice airy log coming in. You actually land on the ground, and then your first stride away is then in the water, and you're just jumping this duck on the angle there. So you notice actually through a bunch of the complexes, and you should sort of take note of that, we're right around down to about 20 meters per minute, 21, 22, something like that. And that's actually somewhere between 350 to 400, maybe a hair over that, meters per minute for these complexes. So to keep a perspective, your average speed has to be 570 through the entire course to make the time. So if you're spending every one of these complexes down in the 450-ish, even low 400s, you know that you're going to have to spend a bunch of that time the galloping, just as we are here, a bit faster. Right now we're just about hitting 40 kilometers an hour, which is about 670 meters per minute. So again, it's always sort of a clock in your head and how much time you're going to spend at the complexes and then how much faster you need to go in between. This is a very influential complex here, a big ditch and wall, 5 strides to a skinny brush, and it really was a very good indication of what's going to happen later on in the course. If your horse jumps over that ditch and wall, is a really bold effort down to a really narrow accuracy question. Tally answered that question great. I mean, we jumped over the ditch and wall, again, just sort of shifted your shoulders back, kept them a little bit steady, and then we're in good shape. Coming up here, there's a trade fair up on the left, and a whole bunch of activity, and it's a hotbed, a couple different complexes all in one area, so it's a lot to look at. With a greener horse, I just really wasn't quite 100% sure how he'd handle everything, and he actually handled it all great. You'll also see coming up here on the top right of your screen will be a spectator view, some video that we had. Again, airy log. You want a little bit more compressed canter. You can see we're in the low 20s kilometers an hour. And again, that's going to be sort of in the 400 ballpark meters per minute. Swooping around here, we've got a good-sized brush with a drop on the landing. 2, 3, 4, 5 strides to the oxer, and then it was either 6. I actually put it in 7. Just wanted to make sure he's dead on straight, and as you can see in the video, the top right, I mean, absolutely straight as an arrow. Just happened to be Eric, who was filming here, was in the perfect position to see that. Now that we're right into the meat of the course, we've got a little galloping here. Gonna let him start to, sort of catch his breath again and recoup. It's a lot of effort, both mentally and physically, for the horses in those key complexes. So we have an opportunity to let them sort of chill out and gallop along. It's a great thing to do so. The other thing, keeping in mind here, is that this is Tally's first CCI 3-star. So at a 10-minute course, he's never been on a course that's that long, so I really was not sure how he'd handle it. I took a little extra time kept him a hair slower really throughout most of the course here, just to sort of keep up the reserve, so I knew at the very end of the course we'd still have something left. If you went totally all out to make the time early and then ended up with nothing, you're in really deep trouble. This is again another key complex, a key hole. I chose a 5-stride line, which I thought put on a straight line for the 2 corners here, 3 strides for that. He was dead on it. I mean, he was absolutely awesome. The other option there actually was to do 4 strides from the keyhole to the first corner. In my experience, I think you stay a little bit wider there. You're on a dead straight line for the second part of the out of that complex. And generally, if the horses can see the jumps ahead, what's expected, even if you get there on a distance that's not quite right, as long as you have enough energy, they tend to help you out. As we had an aqueduct here, he didn't actually get the best jump there. I'm not exactly sure. He read it a little bit funny. And you could see we drifted left off the line, which was not quite to plan. I was hoping to hug up a little bit more to the right. Again, every meter that you can save in distance is actually just a little slower that you can go and actually still make the time. We've got a long gallop here. And again, if I knew and in the future we'd be sort of pushing on here a little bit, but because I was sort of being mindful, trying to maintain the reserves here, we were sticking right around the sort of 40 or so kilometers an hour, which is about 660 meters per minute. Nice long gallop though. You can sort of make up some time. I think I was about 10 seconds back at this point. We've got a hammock here jump, and then just up in front of it is another key combination. It was a coffin. It's an airy log, 1 stride to a ditch, and then it was either 2 or 3 strides to an angled brush. Interesting thing here, didn't ride exactly as I had planned or I figured it would ride. The first stride in, got a good jump in. First stride was good. These second 2 strides ended up being quite a bit longer, and you could see I had to get way back behind him and really sort of drive him up to the fence. He read it well and figured it out, but it was an interesting thing, and ultimately it altered my plan. A little later on in the course is a combination that could be 3 or 4 strides, again on a bending right turn to an angled brush, and being that 2 strides was long and I expected it to be normal, it made my decision for later on in the course. I ended up adding up and going for the 4 strides instead of the 3. Got a tricaner here, ends up being just a filler fence. It's not small by any means, but it's one of those that at this point is sort of a let-up fence. Down to water jump. Big hanging log, drop into the water, 6 strides to the angled house. You see we got a nice good in. Again, we got a video up on the top right. Jump in the house here and then hard left, and I wanted to get as close as I could to that B element, again just in the interest of saving time and saving the distance that Tally had to go. Again, we got, this is probably another one of the more massive fences on the course, a big table. He really has no problem whatsoever. We got a nice long gallop now. The interesting thing here also, looking down on the bottom right, is my heart rate, and looking at 186. My max heart rate is actually 193 at this moment. So the amazing thing, and the thing that really shocked me after reviewing the data that came off of this, is that after about 1 minute and 20 into this course, I was above 90% of my maximum output. And if you average it out for the entire course, I was about 95% of max. And we'll talk a little bit about that after this. We've got a big double brush here, oxer, and it's about a 9-stride bending line to a corner. This is the one spot that really the hill sort of took us, and he's starting to get a little bit tired, so he isn't quite as straight. Drifted a little right, and you saw the flag go flying. The nice thing is that ultimately the flag hit my right foot. As long as his shoulders are inside the flag, we're in good shape. I had mentioned before about the 3 or 4 stride line. This is the one coming up, and this is probably the one I was most nervous about when walking the course, because you really just couldn't get a good read on the second element. It was so much of an angle. But I got a really collected jump in, almost went to these little bushes there, and then again the 4 strides. 4 stride worked out great. The horses with more experience, they could have gone on a direct line in 3. Again, it worked out well for them, but I think for Tally, and especially based on how he jumped through the coffin earlier in the course, the 4 stride really made the most sense. We got another long gallop here, and again, we're talking about the heart rate. I do a lot of cardio fitness stuff. I do a lot of biking, both road and mountain biking, and I think I'm more of a believer now than ever in the past. I mean, everybody always said, okay, you got to be in good shape because you'll feel better, you'll be quicker when riding, but ultimately we have quantitative proof here now that your sitting at 9 or 10 minutes near enough your maximum capacity. It's just critically important that you are in as good a shape as you expect your horses to be. This is the last water complex on the course here. A big brush in and 3 strides. Walk normal, ends up riding actually a little bit long because he kind of got a little bit of funny jump, landed a little dead. He's starting to feel a little bit tired. But I was really surprised actually coming out of that out of that water. I was thinking as I put my leg on that nothing would happen, and actually he really accelerated right off the bat. And a great sign, but one of those that in the future I think we'll be able to push on a little earlier in the course to really make the time. I think we finished up here with, I don't know, 6 or so time penalties. Again, not a big number by any way, shape, or form, but the great thing here is that we're galloping down now towards the last 2 fences, and we had plenty of reserves in the tank, so you can see our speed kicks up here because, again, he just felt awesome. So we're all the way up to 45, that's 750 meters per minute. And just with the last couple of fences, because he's a little more tired, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious probably now than maybe I would in the future, just making sure that we get in right and get a good jump, because the last thing you want to do is fall over the last the last fence and not cross that finish line. But crossing the finish line, give him a big pat, and you'll see the vet crew and our groom and Jess, my fiance, running up, and they're going to get an initial read on his pulse temperature, respiration, head on to the cooling area, and get him cooled out. But what a special horse. Any questions about training, competition, or sales, click on over to dpequestrian.com. Hope you enjoyed it.